I've seen some things on TikTok where people are putting garlic in their lady parts. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about all things related to women's health, and in turn we use it to optimize our health. Today we are going to talk about vaginal smells, norms and abnormals, possibly abnormals, and how to treat them either naturally or with a provider like me. My name is Aditutu Alatawe. I am a board certified women's health nurse practitioner. So a very common thing that most women come to the women's clinic for is once they notice an odor. They notice an odor or a discharge, that to them usually is a sign that something is wrong. And oftentimes they are usually right. So today we're gonna talk about normal smells, abnormal smells, and all things like that. First things first, every woman should empower herself with what her odor is naturally like, or her beautifully balanced pH balanced is naturally like. If you don't already know, we have a very acidic flora. A normal pH is 3.8 to essentially around 4.3, 4.5, right? So when you are balanced there, you're doing great. This is usually an indication that your yeast is here, your bacteria is here, everything is in alignment. Now, when something sets the balance of the bacteria or the yeast off, then you get issues. What should a normal vagina smell like? I know you hear this all the time. It is yogurty, tangy, soury smell. And you need to test that theory for yourself, okay? Every woman should know what she smells like. Literally, give it a try. Use your finger, use a towel, use a tissue, use something so you know what's normal for you. For me, it's just a bit tangy, right? That I know is normal. I do not smell it through my clothes is the number one thing. If you are smelling it through your clothes, let's say you get up, you're standing like this, y'all. You're standing like this. And you get a whiff of yourself, honey, we gotta talk. That's, for me, is telling. A normal flora, you should not be able to smell it through your clothes, okay? So now let's get down to what are the abnormal smells. Okay, so I'm gonna first talk about the first major one, which I know is very popular, but honestly, a lot of my girls still don't really know what BV is. So bacterial vaginosis is the most common vaginal infection that women get. Most of us get it throughout our years, especially if you are sexually active. Now, BV is a disruption of that biome. It's a disruption of that pH balance. It's when you have too much bacteria compared to everything else. So now you got this BV. BV is very poignant. The smell is in your face. It's fishy. Let's say you even take a shower. You can still, and you 5 minutes later, you smell it, right? A natural biome, you may smell it, but it wouldn't be as poignant, right? Also, after sexual intercourse, you smell it. And the reason being is because sperm messes up our pH balance. Because again, we are 3.8 to 4.3. Sperm is alkaline, darling. Sperm is on the other end of the spectrum. God is just, the way he made humans is insane. Sperm is alkaline so that it can literally get past our acidic biome, our acidic flora, so that it can swim up and get to the egg. That's why sperm is alkaline. It's meant to get to the egg and get you pregnant. But it also can mess up your pH balance during that time. Other things that can cause pH balance shift is scented soap, so like douching. Wearing tight clothes can mess up your pH balance. Not letting her breathe, honey. If you don't let her breathe, that can mess up your pH balance. And also, even our menstrual blood can mess up our pH balance because menstrual blood is more alkaline. So menstruation can also mess up your pH balance and give you BV or give you yeast infection or things like that. A lot of these things are not our fault, and also hygiene too. Hygiene can also cause a disruption in your bio. But let's get back to the smell. So number 2, a very strong chemical-like odor. It's just very strong and it smells really chemically. That is usually a sign of a urinary tract infection. The uterus, the vagina, and the bladder go hand in hand. The uterus and the bladder are next to each other. As you already know, there are 2 holes, right? One for the urethra with the bladder coming out, and then the other one is for the vagina. So obviously UTI go hand in hand with the vagina. And the biggest thing with UTI is it can happen with sexual intercourse. Because of the act of sex, you can easily put bacteria through there. So those are things that to pay attention for. If you notice that you have a really strong urine smell, it also may mean that urine is getting trapped in your vaginal hair, right? So it may not mean a UTI, but it can mean that you have that hair that is causing that smell to stay. So those are possible answers. But with UTI, what will accompany it is usually pain, that dysuria, that difficulty peeing, that when you pee, you don't finish. So the frequency, the urgency, and then just like that pain, that discomfort when it finishes. Who, if you've ever had a UTI, you would not forget. And I think there are levels to UTI, okay? Some of them, I feel like it gets worse along the day, and then along the days, and then you just can't take it. I just feel like you can't miss a UTI for me, but I've had several patients who did not know that they had a UTI, and they did. So it can also be asymptomatic, all right? Ain't nothing wrong with it. Just take some cranberry juice, drink some cranberry juice, make that a part of your life, drink a lot of water, make sure after sex you pee, right? So those are the type of things to help prevent UTI. All right, so another smell that is very common is that metallic smell. So it smells like little pennies. That is normal. It is usually accompanied with your menstrual blood. So usually at the end of your menstruation, you smell that metallic-y, just old blood type of smell. Sometimes it scares a lot of women. They're like, what's going on? But remember, your menstrual blood is alkaline, so you can have that smell. Just wait a couple of days and see if that smell comes back. That type of smell oftentimes is normal. All right, so what about yeast infection? Yeast infection has no odor. So an odorless but a cheesy, a curdy, if you will, cottage cheesy type discharge, and very itchy. That is a sign of a yeast infection. And honestly, y'all, I've had yeast infections in my life, and once again, just like the UTI, there are levels to yeast infections. There are some yeast infections that don't hurt that much. And then there are other yeast infections that you're just itching away. You're just scratching your whole vulva away. I feel like if you had it, you will never forget it, especially the extreme ones. Now, the last smell is when something smells like it's dead meat, okay? If it smells like rotten meat, or it smells like something that's just rotten. You take a shower and you get out that shower immediately, you still smell it. You can smell it through your clothes. You can smell it, anywhere. You cannot get over this smell. You can't get through the smell. Nothing fixes it. You use a monostat, you use boric acid, you use all that stuff, and nothing fixes it. That is a sign of an infection, okay? Possibly an infection or an old tampon, all right? So this especially, the rotten smell is the smell that you need to go to a women's clinic, an OBGYN for as soon as you can, okay? Because that's very concerning. All right, so now that we've talked about all 5 smells, right? So let's recap. We talked about that fishy smell that's usually indicative of bacterial vaginosis. We talked about that chemical urine-like smell that's usually indicative of a UTI. We talked about a metallic-y smell, just kind of a penny-like smell. That's usually a sign of like your old blood, possibly menstruating. We talked about odorless smell, but cheesy discharge. That's usually a yeast infection. And we talked about a rotten smell, rotten meat-like smell, and that's usually a sign of an infection, all right, or an old tampon. So now let's talk about how we can treat these. Y'all, I am a natural remedy type of person, okay? I believe in holistic care. I do believe that back in the days, women have always had these things come up. We didn't just start menstruating, you know? So like we've always had these smells, and sperm have always messed up our alkaline. So I always wondered, what did the older women, what did the women used to do back in the days, right? And I love natural remedies. Love it. Love it. And there's some natural remedies that I have tried and it's worked for me, honey. So I believe in those natural remedies. So let's talk about BV. BV is the most common one, so it's the first one I'm gonna talk about. I tell my patients boric acid should be your baby, okay? You should have boric acid in your cupboard. However, if you have children, make sure it's very high up and far away from their reach, because boric acid is very fatal and very deadly if you swallow it. Okay, boric acid should only go intravaginally, inside your vagina, okay? That is the biggest thing. My boric acid is far up. My kids cannot see it. They can't get access to it. It's very important that it's not swallowed, okay? Now, boric acid, what it does is essentially it's a natural bacteria absorber. When you have this excess bacteria, you put it inside your vagina and it just like absorbs the bad bacteria and then it comes out of you. So if you notice this fishy smell, go to the store, get yourself some boric acid, put it up intravaginally at night for 14 days. You won't need me at all. You won't even come see me. You would not need to come see me. I always tell my patients after I give them the medication for BV, which is Flagyl, I always say, get yourself some boric acid, okay? Especially if you keep having recurrent BV, this should be your baby. You should have boric acid all the time. You smell a little abnormal. Ooh, this ain't me. Start that treatment. Start that treatment. 14 days, put it at night. You would notice a big change quickly. Okay, but naturally we give 7 days of antibiotics for bacterial vaginosis that can also treat it. Now, here's the thing with antibiotics, right? Antibiotics can also cause pretty much killing off all the bacteria, including the good ones. So what can that give you? A yeast infection, okay? So yeast infections are essentially when you have too much yeast compared to the bacteria, right? We talked about that. Now, the biggest thing with yeast is there's so many things that can cause yeast infections. Overuse of antibiotics, contraceptives, meaning high estrogen, because estrogen can cause an overgrowth in yeast. Other things that can cause it, immune system, having diabetes can cause a yeast infection. This one, pregnancy, can cause a yeast infection because pregnancy is just a pH off balance time, right? And the gotcha with pregnancy is you can't use oral antifungals while pregnant. So a lot of times it's just vaginal cream that you can use to help you with this very uncomfortable symptom. And sometimes it doesn't even work. So you're just gonna have to go through sometimes 10 months of that constant, it's not easy being a woman, but somebody's got to do it. Anyway, so with yeast infections, like I said, you can use antifungals. And the biggest thing, the natural remedies for yeast infection is probiotics, okay? The thing with probiotics and yogurt, people say yogurt, putting yogurt in your mouth, although people do say that they put yogurt in their vagina, and that's a natural remedy and it works for them. The TikTok girlie said that. Now, again, holistic. I'm a holistic provider. I've never tried this. I do remember some of my patients saying that they tried it and it made it work, but I do see on TikTok that some women said they tried it and they liked it. So here's my thing. Yogurt, not all yogurt are made the same. I believe I understand what they're trying to say, because lactobacilli is in yogurt and it's in probiotics. What it does is it pretty much stops yeast from growing too much. It decreases excess yeast. So I do understand the natural remedy of yogurt. Am I gonna try it? No. Do I think you should try it? No. But hey, I get it, I understand it, because theoretically, I get it. If the lactobacilli is in the yogurt and I put it on my, isn't that gonna help neutralize? Sure, but my biggest thing is, what about the sugar that's in the yogurt? That's also actually gonna cause more issues. All I know is I'm not trying yogurt. I'm not gonna do it. But anyway, probiotics are very important for your vaginal flora, right? It helps to balance everything, because if you have that lactobacilli, essentially it's going to decrease your chances of having an overgrowth of yeast, which will keep you balanced so that you don't have a yeast infection. The number one thing that I always tell my patients who come in and have a yeast infection is you need to make probiotics a part of your lifestyle, even for BV as well, because what it does is it's just balancing your pH, okay? So I've been taking this Bonafide Clear V probiotics, and what I really like about it, surprisingly, is you take 1 capsule orally per day for 15 consecutive days each month. Y'all, I ain't even gonna lie to y'all. I love to take my probiotics, but I do forget them often. But the way they dosed it is you only need to take it for 15 days and it covers you for the whole month. Now, I like to take this during my luteal phase, because this is when I feel like my gut is out of balance and everything's just out of whack. And when your gut's off balance, you can just see it in your skin, you can see it in your face, you can see it everywhere. Not only is probiotics really good for your vaginal microbiome, it's also really good for your gut. And we know our gut is connected to everything. So I swear by these. So I take them during my luteal phase, and it really helps with I always notice that it helps with my skin, y'all. I'm in my luteal phase. I am in my luteal phase. And usually when I'm in my luteal phase, my skin is just like, I don't know, it's like, not just ashy, it's just not doing what it needs to do. There's usually like lots of pimples, there's usually like lots of like not discoloration, but it's just so patchy. But when I take my probiotics often, it helps. So love it. I'll put a link down below for their company. I love that we don't have to take 30 days of pills every day. We can just take a break. Okay, so now, in terms of a urinary tract infection, if you have a UTI, you're most likely going to need antibiotics, okay? Especially if it's strong. But natural remedies, cranberry juice, that's what they used to do back in the day, cranberry juice, drinking lots of water, making sure you're peeing after sex, making sure that you are washing yourself from front to back. I know that people are like, oh, who don't know that? A lot of people don't know that. So making sure that you're cleaning yourself from front to back, okay? All right, now the metallic-y smell, the menstrual blood smell. Now, this is a time that you can do boric acid and just see if that helps with that metallic-y smell. I will boric acid during that time if you don't want to have that odor. Although the vagina will always have a smell, but it should not be poignant and you should not be able to smell it while you're sitting. As I'm sitting right now, she's pH balanced. She's pH balanced. I don't smell a thing. But bet you if I take everything off and then I check myself, of course I'll smell that tangy smell. So what I'm saying is nobody wants to have that metallic-y, even like old blood smell. So do boric acid. I am queen boric acid. I'm like, smell boric acid, boric acid. And you don't even have to do 14 days. You can do 7 days, okay? All right. In terms of the rotten smell, come and see somebody like me, a women's health provider, practitioner, go see an OBGYN, go see your PCP, your primary care doctor. You need to get checked, okay? You should not be having a rotten-like smell, ever. So you need to get checked. That's a possible sign of an infection. More often than not, you will need antibiotics. Okay, y'all, so those are the most common vaginal smells that I hear about often in the clinic, that a lot of women complaining about, that I have also experienced as well. If you have any questions, comment down below. If you have any any natural remedies that you've tried, any female women empowerment remedies that you've tried, that is safe, okay? That's safe, because I've seen some things on TikTok where people are putting garlic in their lady parts. Oh, y'all, I mean, you know, in my Western 2024 mind, that sounds crazy. But what if it worked in the 1400s? I get it. I understand, because, you know, I'm all about holistic, natural. But garlic in the vagina sounds crazy. I ain't even gonna hold you. That sounds insane. But hey, I ain't gonna try it. And I hope you don't try it either. But anyway, if you have any crazy things that you've tried, that other women have tried, comment down below. As always, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.